The FBI has issued a warning to police departments across California, indicating that Iran may be preparing for a drone strike on the west coast of the United States. This threat is not directed at military bases in the Middle East, but rather involves unmanned aerial vehicles launched from an unidentified vessel off the California coast. An ABC News report, citing a recent intelligence assessment, noted that the specific targets remain unspecified. The FBI's Los Angeles field office chose not to comment on the situation. In response to these developments, oil prices surged over 6% in a single trading session, with diesel prices reaching $4.81 per gallon, marking the highest level since December 2022. Amidst these unfolding events and a rapidly changing threat landscape, the President of the United States was in Cincinnati, referring to the conflict in Iran as a mere little excursion. This juxtaposition reveals two contrasting realities within one nation. On one side, an administration asserting that everything is on track, claiming that Iran's navy is effectively neutralized and that victory is imminent. On the other side, there are burning oil depots in Oman, a barrage of 100 rockets from Hezbollah striking northern Israel, cargo ships being targeted in the Strait of Hormuz, and an active domestic threat warning suggesting that the war initiated by this president may soon reach American shores. This narrative is not merely about military might. It highlights the significant gap between the official statements being made and the actual events transpiring. In the following discussion, I will explain how this conflict has spiraled out of control, how the administration's rhetoric is undermining its own narrative, and why the world today is considerably more perilous than it was just 2 weeks ago. Consider this scenario. You have a business partner who starts a conflict with your largest supplier without consulting you, lacking a contingency plan, and without securing your supply chain first. He then assures you that everything is fine and urges you to continue operations while your trucks are being ambushed on the road, and he is distracted by past issues. How long would it take before you stop believing anything he says? This dynamic is precisely what is occurring between this administration and the American public, as well as between this president and the CEOs he is encouraging to send commercial vessels through a choke point that his own Navy cannot secure. At what point does "trust me, we've got this" become indistinguishable from "we have absolutely no idea what we are doing"? Let's rewind to the beginning of this situation. It did not start with a comprehensive strategic vision presented to the nation. There was no formal address from the Oval Office, no authorization from Congress, and no coalition of allies consulted and aligned on a shared objective. Instead, reports indicate a rapid unilateral escalation that bypassed every constitutional safeguard designed to prevent such military ventures. The administration characterized the actions as decisive, surgical, and swift, with the president referring to the operation as an excursion, suggesting a timeline of just a couple of weeks ahead of schedule. They claim to have incapacitated Iran's navy, military capabilities, and leadership multiple times. Yet, Iran has not surrendered. Rather, it has intensified its actions. The administration struggles to answer the fundamental questions any wartime leader must address. What does victory entail, and when will American forces return home? Democratic Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy bluntly stated that the reason Trump did not seek congressional approval is that he lacked answers to essential questions and could not justify the decision to strike Iran. The objectives seem unclear. One day it's about regime change, even as the regime appears to be worsening. Another day it's about dismantling a nuclear program that was supposedly destroyed last summer, but is still operational, according to Krishnamurthy. There is no timeline or exit strategy, and the only certainty is the mounting cost, which is increasing by the hour. Here are 3 key pieces of evidence that illustrate the current state of the war, regardless of what is claimed from the podium. The Strait of Hormuz is effectively contested, and the administration is aware of this reality. Trump publicly instructed oil company CEOs to continue shipping through the strait, asserting that they had neutralized nearly all Iranian mines in a single night. However, when asked if mines remained, his response, "We don't think so," should alarm every shipping executive. Meanwhile, 3 cargo ships that did not receive Iranian authorization were attacked by the Iranian Navy in the strait, inflicting significant damage. The commander of the Revolutionary Guard Navy issued a statement warning those who relied on what he termed empty promises, saying, "Ask the crews of those ships. they were caught. Moreover, the U.S. Navy has reportedly been denying near-daily requests from oil and shipping companies for military escorts through the strait since Operation Epic Fury commenced. The president says go, while the Navy states we cannot protect you. This contradiction is not indicative of an operation ahead of schedule. It reflects a strategic inconsistency significant enough to drive an aircraft carrier through. The regional conflict is expanding rather than diminishing. Iranian drones targeted fuel storage tanks at the port of Salalah in southern Oman, the largest oil depot in the country, resulting in massive fires that destroyed infrastructure built over many years. In northern Israel, Hezbollah launched a coordinated attack of 100 rockets, a move that signals intent rather than impulse. The Houthis in Yemen are expected to escalate operations aimed at disrupting oil transport through the Red Sea, creating another energy choke point. According to a Reuters exclusive, Iran's goal is to push oil prices to $200 per barrel, explicitly stating, "We will not allow even 1 liter of oil to reach the United States, Israel, or its partners." Any vessel or tanker headed for them will be considered a legitimate target. This posture does not reflect a defeated adversary. Rather, it indicates an actor executing a strategy it believes is effective. Data from The Intercept supports this assessment, revealing that the effectiveness of UAE interceptors against Iranian drones has declined significantly, with 20 to 25% more drones breaching defenses than in previous days. The asymmetric dynamics that Ukraine's President Zelensky discussed, cheap drones versus expensive interceptors, are unfolding in real time, with American allies bearing the brunt of the consequences, while the administration has rejected assistance. The war is encroaching on American territory, at least in terms of assessed threats. The FBI's intelligence bulletin warning California law enforcement of a potential Iranian drone attack from a vessel offshore is not a routine advisory. It signifies a qualitative shift in the threat landscape. U.S. intelligence assesses that Iran possesses both the aspiration and potential capability to project force against the American homeland using low-cost, unmanned systems that are already overwhelming allied defenses in the Gulf. The FBI has chosen not to comment, and this silence speaks volumes. The situation is evolving rapidly, and when the next escalation occurs, whether in the Strait, on the West Coast, or across energy markets, it's crucial to stay informed. This narrative is gaining momentum, not winding down. Now consider the stark contrast that defines this entire conflict. On one side, an administration relying on blunt force and spectacle. Trump's public stance is built on metrics of destruction. 60 ships sunk, leadership eliminated twice, and Iran's navy at the bottom of the sea. This reflects a mindset that equates destruction with strategy, as if enough hardware loss will automatically lead to a political outcome. While the Strait burns, drones strike Oman, and the FBI issues domestic threat warnings, the president is preoccupied with social media posts about the 2020 election results, sharing private messages with Senator Mike Lee and criticizing a Harvard department chair. On the other side, Iran is executing a coordinated, multifaceted, asymmetric campaign that this administration clearly did not foresee. While Trump focuses on self-promotional posts, Iran's president engages with leaders from Russia and Pakistan, reaffirming alliances and presenting Iran as a nation committed to regional peace. Iran's public position is meticulously crafted. The only way to end this war is by acknowledging Iran's legitimate rights, providing reparations, and offering firm international guarantees against future aggression. This is not an admission of defeat. It is a negotiating stance from a government that believes time is on its side. Consider the disparity in resources. Iran deploys Shahed drones that cost tens of thousands of dollars, while the U.S. expends interceptors that cost millions. Iran possesses thousands of drones and ballistic missiles. Congressman Krishnamurthy noted that Iran has not yet armed those ballistic missiles, indicating that the escalation ladder still has rungs that remain untested. Iran is not attempting to match American firepower. It doesn't need to. Instead, it is making the costs of this war unsustainable economically, politically, and strategically, waiting for gravity to take its toll. You cannot defeat an asymmetric adversary by simply announcing boat counts. You must have a plan for the long term. This administration, based on all available indicators, lacks such a plan. So what does this mean for you? It means that the prices you pay for diesel, groceries, and any goods transported by truck or ship are rising and may not decrease. In the Chicago area, gas prices have reportedly surged by 50 to 90 cents in a single week. If Iran follows through on its threat to push oil prices above $200 per barrel, and if both the Strait of Hormuz and the Red Sea become effectively closed to commercial traffic, we could face an energy shock that would ripple through every sector of the economy. Furthermore, it means that American service members are engaged in combat without clearly defined objectives. Reports suggest that as many as 150 may have been injured, though the administration has not provided full transparency, with 7 confirmed fatalities. When the president was questioned about a military investigation that found U.S. forces had struck a school in Iran, his response was simply, "I don't know." For those living on the West Coast, the FBI has assessed that Iran intends to launch drone strikes in your region from offshore. This is not a hypothetical scenario buried in think tank reports. It is an active warning directed at law enforcement agencies in your state. Once these disruptions take root, they do not simply reverse. When fighting ceases, supply chains are disrupted, energy contracts are restructured, and alliances are realigned. These changes become permanent. The economic pain is not just turbulence, it is a new reality that persists long after the last drone falls into the sea. Where does this lead us? I foresee 3 potential scenarios: managed de-escalation, where back channels may open, and a face-saving framework emerges, allowing the administration to declare victory, albeit with structural damage; regional realignment, where other actors reposition based on the new reality, potentially leading to a broader restructuring of Middle Eastern security; or an escalation spiral, where Iran arms its ballistic missiles and the drone threat intensifies, forcing Congress to act as political costs rise. What is clear is that this conflict has already transformed the strategic landscape in irreversible ways. Even if a ceasefire is reached tomorrow, the lessons learned will be permanent. Iran understands that its drones are effective. The shipping industry recognizes that the strait is no longer safe. American allies are aware that assurances of protection do not equate to actual security. And the American public is beginning to grasp that excursion is merely a euphemism for a day trip to the beach, not a war that has resulted in casualties, injured hundreds, thrown oil markets into disarray, and placed the threat of aerial attacks on California's doorstep. Did Iran outmaneuver the most powerful military in the world, or did the political leadership of that military send it into a conflict without a plan, without congressional authorization, and without a clear exit strategy? Is this a demonstration of strength, or is it indicative of what happens when an unserious individual occupies the most critical position in the world and opts to improvise a war? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Don't forget to subscribe, as the next chapter, whether it unfolds in the Strait, the Red Sea, or along the California coastline, is on the horizon. This story is not slowing down, so stay alert. This content is intended for commentary and analysis purposes only and does not constitute financial, legal, or geopolitical advice.